Sure.
Shonee, good to have you back. How have you been?
I have been good, Vinod. Pleasure to be back here with on your show. It was a pleasant talking to you last time.
Yeah, I think
Hope to
we'll make
continue.
it, thank you so much. And I think we'll make it more interesting for people. So today, I would like to continue from where we left off, Shonee. The
Sure.
role of, I think we started off, kind of ended on the role of feminazis, as you mentioned. So I would like to touch upon the role of feminist, let's say the feminazis or whatever adjectives we have for them. And let's say the role judiciary played or legislature played or didn't play in, let's say, protecting the rights of one half of the population. That's one. And then we'll probably dive deeper into an act that came in 2005, which is, let's say, the domestic violence or intimate partner violence. I think
Correct.
what has been, let's say, the state of the cases in the last 20 years, the conviction rates, whether it made sense, things around that, your perspective around that would be very useful for people who are, let's say, looking to marry or are married and figuring how to navigate the contours of the law.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's and the role of even men's rights activists and the extremes in that space too. I think we should be fair on that topic as well. So yeah, so let me start off with the first question, Shoni. I think you touched upon the fact that the legislature or legislators that you spoke to in person were quite petrified of the feminists and the feminist lobbies. What do you mean by that, and what are they actually scared of?
So I'll tell you something. The lawmakers, whomsoever I met, the legislatures or the MLAs or the MPs, you know. So instead of fixing this mess, it is not that they don't understand this mess. They very well understand what is happening in their own constituencies amongst the people around them. But instead of fixing this mess, they are busy. What the word is pandering to the vote bank politics. So every election season, they bring out something or the other, Women Protection Act or something related to women protection. It is not for justice; it is for optics. So essentially now, after so many elections since 1983 or 85 or since even 2012, every time you will hear about that we want safety of women. Everybody, every election, that is one of the basic planks. Then comes the second, which has come up now, is the doles to women. You know, and in some states this dole is amounting to 4%, 5% of the GDP.
Wow.
So they don't have any money left for education, for healthcare, for any other projects. Even the capital expenditure is getting hurt. you know in in states which are not revenue plus, when revenue surplus, they are in shambles because of it. If you look around, and if you talk to me, or if you talk to any of the lawmakers about all these things, they know this.
Mhm.
They know this, but they say that we cannot deal with it except in one manner. We have to do one upmanship with our competitors.
Okay.
So in Delhi, if you would have seen, it was 2100. BJP came, it promised 2500. Aam Aadmi Party was saying 2100. Then everybody, this there was a Aam Aadmi Party Rajya Sabha MP who was ex-commissioner, ex Delhi Commission woman head, and there was a rumor which was like that she went in the dead of night, and she created, because at that time police was under central rule. So there were a couple of people who came and harassed her, but then it later came to light that those were the party members only. And the vibe they wanted to give, or the impression they wanted to create, was that Delhi is not safe for women.
Mm-hmm.
This is a person who is at the level of, DCW head, Delhi Commission of Women head, or whatsoever. So if these kind of optics are required for them to win elections and say that only we can protect you, and you see about anything like right now there is a lot of chaos going on in streets about Kuldeep Singh Sengar, whose punishment has been suspended. Mind you, he is not out of jail. Only in one of the crimes, his sentencing has been suspended. So you see every political party rallying behind that it is BJP man. That is why he has got such a relief from the court. But when you look at other people, you look at any accused for that matter who was sentenced, when he has done nearly 50% of his punishment. You know, generally he is granted bail. Generally his sentence is suspended in heinous crime, and I am talking about all heinous crime. Another thing which I'll tell you that all these galata happens when there is a sexual assault cases. In from year 2000 to 2025, only 8 people have been hanged in this country,
From
and five of them
2002 or from
two,
2000?
2000 year
Okay,
2000 to
got it.
year 2025, only 8 people have been hanged in this country, and 5 of them have been hanged for sexual assault cases, and 3 have been hanged for waging war against this country. So they were dreaded terrorists, but none of the other terrorists, none of the other murderers, none of the gangsters are punished to or hanged.
Mhm.
So again, for those 3 people, the trial took nearly 20 years. For these 4 of these 5 people, the trial took nearly 2 years.
Mhm.
It is not only lawmakers, it is even the courts. And you be with me, National Law College or some law college in Delhi, or it was NLU or NLU, most probably NLU Delhi, who did a research. And it was very shocking that nearly 60% of the death penalties were meted out in sexual assault cases.
Mhm.
But what was more surprising, that nearly 75% of it were later in appeals, they were turned, they were
Overturned.
acquitted, but they were
Mhm.
overturned. The punishment was overturned. Not only punishment was overturned, in certain cases, more than 50% of the cases in that study, the accused was found not guilty. So you must have heard about news that within 2 days, a POXO accused was
Arrested.
given,
Yeah.
punishment for to be hanged. So within 2 days, the police was able to do the investigation, file the charge sheet, and the court was ready, was able to run the trial also. Then people rejoice that 5 rapists were gunned down by police in an encounter in Hyderabad. What kind of things are that? You don't need to run trials for that. In effect, what I suspect is that if you kill 5 people on suspicion, or making them accused of rape, there is high likelihood that the 5 actual rapists would be roaming free somewhere, and these 5 people who were murdered for any other reason
Interesting. So,
without trial.
is it like in the interest of closing the case, you think the
Everybody wants to
enforcement
close the
is.
case very fast. So
Mhm.
every SHO, every IO wants to close the case very fast when it comes to sexual crime. For all other crimes, they'll keep sitting on their files for years, especially white collar crimes. When you talk about 22,000 crore rupees today, some figures were there. 22,000 crore rupees were you know siphoned off from citizens of this country by
Uh,
cyber frauds. There is no police people working on it. They don't have depth. They don't have manpower.
so why is it that sexual harassment cases find, let's say, faster action or movement from the enforcers, the police and the execution
It makes
people.
good news.
Mhm.
It makes good news. So media loves it. So every policeman who does that is treated as a messiah in this society.
Got it.
That is one of the reasons.
One question I have, Shonee, based on what you mentioned, I think you said legislature is pretty clear that they don't want to touch it because of fear of backlash from the vote bank, which
Definitely,
is
definitely.
pretty much the women votes that they are catering to or pandering to. What about, so I have two questions here. Maybe you can cover both or one of it. One is, I think there's an Article 15 or something which basically says that every Indian has to be treated equally, at least as per the constitution, right? In which case, why aren't people going and questioning the courts, the judiciary, saying that you're actually not, you're basically not treating men equally in these kind of cases? Why isn't the judiciary acting, even if it's against the constitution?
No, no. So there are two aspects to it. One is Article 15, but there is another article subsection 3 of Article 15, which
Okay.
says that the legislature or the state can make special provisions for women and children. And this is a exception. This is an exception to the general rule that there shouldn't be any discrimination on the grounds of caste, creed, religion, everything and everything. So equality, but there is a section created for equality when it comes to women and children. So that is how these laws are being made under Article subsection 3 of Article 15, and that is how these are run. And courts are bound by that article also. So it is not that they are not bound by that article. But what was the other part of your question? I need to rephrase it.
So I've often seen judiciary typically steps in when the law is not very clear and then says, oh, this is ultra wires, this should not be done. These are the rules by which police should be acting, step A, B, C. But what I've generally seen is just like the legislature, which is kind of quiet. I've seen judiciary also largely being very quiet when it comes to cases against men and which involves, let's say, protection of women in some form. Why is that? Why can't they be
So
impartial?
if I were to use word which is very dear to men's right movement, it is institutionalized misandry. So when a woman lies, it is called trauma. When a woman cries, it is called trauma. And when a man cries, it is called an excuse. So you go to any court, they'll grant maintenance without evidence. The police will arrest men without investigation. So the delay in cases, men lose, and they lose everything. They lose everything, their job, their dignity, their youth, their family. And I think in an attempt to become progressive, especially our higher judiciary, they have become blind to fairness. I'll give you an example. See, I have read a judgment, and it is from a Delhi court. Lying under oath is perjury. So if a woman lies under oath to get maintenance that she is not working and she was found to be working and she had taken a large sum of money, she should be punished for perjury. And I'm verbatim, I'll quote verbatim what the court had written, that I find this woman guilty of perjury. I find this woman guilty of perjury. But as the case is of matrimonial nature, I don't want to punish this woman.
Hmm.
And I am quoting verbatim. Just imagine if the man had lied, what would have happened?
Then we know what would happen. Yeah.
We all know what would have happened, right? So again, then we are not wrong when we say that, legislature, courts, police, bureaucracy, they have institutionalized misandry. The lawmakers are making biased laws. The judiciary is enforcing them without questions. And the media is glorifying every false accusation as what they call courageous decision. I would say that if feminists or feminazis, vote hungry lawmakers, and then judiciary, which is will I'll say they have no sense of fairness. So these all put together has made our country a dangerous place for men. So women now need is not equality. You speak to any woman on the street or any not on the street, but most of these feminist women. So they want to manipulate the narrative which is going on, and what they want is control and unending supply of money. All the CSIR funds are channelized to for the causes of women and children. Of course, there are other things also, but none of them will be channelized to causes of men. All these NGOs get grants from Government of India, state governments, UN Women, and whatnot.
Yeah.
And if there is a large sum of money going around, somebody said it is 4.5 lakh crore rupees. So why won't they be hungry about it?
This just what are the things I want to show you, Shonee, is this particular clip. Let me just see if I can share the desktop. Yeah, maybe yeah, this one, right? Just confirm once you can see it. Do you remember this
Yeah,
particular
yeah, I can see
video?
it.
Yeah,
Yes, I have seen that.
I mean the way. I mean, I think she was a law minister or one of the ministers in UPA government at the time, and it was
She was
pretty
not a law minister. She was Minister of Women and Child Development.
women. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And Child Development.
when Karantapa asked, like, isn't this a little too radical, the kind of framing you've done in the elect? And you should just see the way she smiled at it and she said, yeah, let men suffer. And the kind of vicarious pleasure she had in that face, it was quite scary when I observed it. I mean,
This is what I said.
this is just pure, hatred for a gender when it doesn't really, I don't know, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, you mentioned about misandrist. I am actually quite, let's say, upset that it has come
So
to that
in
particular
effect,
spot.
another word is that the feminism has gone rouge, you know.
Hmm.
And such kind of lawmakers we had who said, let men suffer, let 50% of the population in this country suffer. And people will clap. I'll tell you something, Vinod. Even amongst men, 90% are feminists. Because no, you meet any person,
Hmm.
महिलाओं के साथ तो अन्याय होता ही रहता है.
Uh,
आपके घर में होता है क्या? नहीं, हमारे घर में नहीं होता, हम तो बहुत प्रोग्रेसिव हैं.
uh,
So the moment it hits their home, then they realize, oh. So I keep on telling, I have met people who have faced allegations of false rape, and they tell me that we were there in 2012 raising the banner for Nirbhaya. You know, till it happened to us, we never realized that 24 out of 25 rape cases are false.
hmm.
And if you speak about it on in any national media and they'll ask you, are you not sympathetic? You don't have any empathy for that particular one woman who was raped, actually raped. And I ask them, you have no empathy for 24 other men who were imprisoned on the false case. Why? So one woman versus 24 men. One woman will still get empathy and sympathy of this society. Those 24 men will not get it.
I think that's fairly established in, it seems to be
And
the contour across the world from what I've seen, where I think people don't have sympathy for any man.
I
That's for sure. I
I
think
read
we
your
all,
article. I read your article
yeah, yeah.
on your
So
blog.
one of the things I'm very curious, it's more on a philosophical level more than let's say, a legal angle is that I'm generally, my view is that feminism has probably gone to a little too extreme. And mind you, this is still considering that even in UK, US, and India, not all women consider themselves to be feminists. It's probably in the low double digits, 10 to 12% is what they consider or they claim that they are feminist to a certain degree, and they don't agree with the kind of extreme feminism or feminazi that we generally see. And this has been done through multiple surveys, by the way.
I'll just have a question. When
Sure.
you speak that maybe less than 10% of women who consider themselves feminist, the definition of feminist, as I understand, or as most of the people in West understand, they don't mean equalist. They equate feminism with anti-male narrative. So
Exactly.
feminism has gone to that level. So when you say that 10% women are outrightly anti-male, I'll definitely understand. But when you say that
Yeah.
only 10% women are speaking about equality, I'll not understand that. I'll not
Yeah,
agree with you.
that's a fair point, right? Because I think probably feminism has gone to that kind of an extreme that only a small subset of people understand and affiliate themselves with the current form of extreme feminism that's on display. That being the case, I what I want to ask you, Shonee, is what's the reason for, let's say, even this 10% or 15% of women, it could be 20%, for them to hate men? Because I can't really think of a
I think,
man
I think, I,
openly
no,
admitting
no,
that
no.
I hate
So,
women.
no, I don't hate women. First of
Yeah,
all, I
nobody
got
does.
remarried as soon as. No, no. There are people who hate women, but
Yeah.
I'm not one of them. So I'll tell you that first of all, it is an excuse, When every time a woman fails, she has a very easy thing to blame, that is patriarchy. And when there is a man and a woman in a competition and man wins, he has a privilege. So how long will you play this victim card? Can you shame 50% of population for being born men? Who is a female say that it is patriarchy? I have not seen, I have worked under a woman. My reporting boss was a female. Never in my life I heard her say that it is because of patriarchy you are here. She was very fair, you know. But when you want to achieve things without putting efforts, that is where it is greed. You want things just because you are a female. That is not equality, that is unequal privileges which you want. The fight for equality, education, voting rights, property rights, I think that ended decades ago. In our constitution, it was granted 75, 78 years ago that you will have equal rights. Hindu female has equal rights in the property of the father, intestate property. Of course, in a will, anything can be ancestral property also. So that has been there since 1950s, Property rights are vested with women. Voting rights we gave them in 1947. Education, I don't know how much more we are spending on female education than male education. Or say, if there is 100 rupee kitty, maybe 75 rupees will be for female participants and 25 would be for equality. So that is there. That is for everybody to see that. I think we have created a generation, entitled generation, that they have patriarchy, toxic masculinity. They are the excuses they have for everything, for their
Interesting.
failures.
Yeah, I think some stage I hopefully they'll own for it, right? I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen, but just jumping onto a little bit into domestic violence, Shoni, I think the act is completely one-sided, and I think both of us have read the act right from 2005. Based on some of the research that a lot of people have done in the US, UK, and other countries, and also in India, and which I also did quite a while back, this is what I am seeing in general. As if you look at most of the surveys, and it is definitely not one sided, but it's kind of very mutual, is what it clearly says. If you look at the survey of was done by Strauss, who's been very deep into this, you can see that male and female participation in minor versus overall rates is pretty much similar. And in fact, what they say, as per another graph, if you see wife slaps husband has been pretty flat, right, at 22 percentage. Whereas the husband slapping wife, men have been coming, the rate has been coming down from 1968 to 1994, right? And
Yes,
the
I
statistics,
read that.
yeah, the stats also have been very clear that out of every 100 cases that gets reported on domestic violence in general or intimate partner violence, slightly more than 50% is actually initiated by the woman. How is it that a judiciary and let's say a legal system, or let's say the people who frame the laws, can be completely blind to this fact that it's actually been mutual for a long, long time?
Do you actually think they are blind and they have not seen the data?
They should have.
So they have seen the data. They know the acquittal rates. They see men committing suicides after false cases, yet they remain silent because truth doesn't get votes, emotion does.
Mhm.
So there is a old saying that a woman's tears and man's hard work can achieve anything. So they have to cry with women, cry for women to get the votes, their votes, and they have to hand out doles. See, again, another survey which happened and it was reported by one of the newspapers or websites, that why doles are given only to women,
Mhm.
because it is easy to buy their votes by instant gratification, and not by a man. You cannot buy a man's vote by instant gratification. That is not my survey. I have not written it, but some psephologist wrote it. And on top of it, even when nearly all of the money is spent on families' well being, I'm not denying that. I'm not against paying money to families who are under poverty line. In fact, we have done a lot of work, and another 20 years, I think minimum uniform universal wage would become a reality. That said, but what these psychologists or psephologists are saying, we have to look at that angle also.
Okay. I think that's something that's needs to be studied in more detail, I guess. I think
Yeah, we should. In fact, that is why I say that not a lot of research has gone into how men and women behave under similar circumstances. At least it is not in public eye. Maybe the research has gone. A lot of research has been done, and it is not published because it shows both the genders in different lights. And I once again reiterate, we are equal in value. We are not equal beings. Men and women are
mm,
totally different beings. Our value is equal when we speak about equality. It is not I'll be able to do what a woman does, or a woman will be able to do what a man does. No, never.
that's a fair stance, obviously. I am completely understand. One of the things I also think, Shoni, we should touch upon, which is something that I've observed mostly on Twitter from some of the, let's say, most, let's say, the red pill MRAs, or let's say the red pill men on Twitter, is there's also a fair bit of, let's say, non-scientific women bashing due to some of these, let's say, lopsided laws that are happening. How do you view that gender divide that's going on? Is the stance seems to be quite antagonistic to what people generally want to take. So I just want to catch your views on that.
So you have to see that this red pill is a counter narrative. It is a rebellion against a system, the system which shames men. which wants to silence the pain, which wants to glorify, female victimhood. So yes, when people will speak against all these things, a lot of times it will look like they are anti-female or anti-woman. But the movement is not about hating women, you know. And I strongly believe that the movement, men's right movement, is not about hating women, because the narrative, it is counter narrative to a movement which hates men. So sometimes the pushback looks like that. And then there are always, in every society, everywhere, there are fringe benefits. Then there are people who are very emotional because of their own trauma. So they blurt out certain things, which in effect does not, which makes good story when you have to, take them against women, that men are saying so against women. But I don't think, when you look at all the Red Pill movement or men's right movement, they want equality in real sense. They don't want themselves or men in general to face false persecution. They don't want their money to be taken and given to females for free. You know. So you have to understand that for a man, his livelihood matters much more than a female. For a man, his children matter. So I was in a debate, and somebody was saying that we don't need army. I said, if you don't need army, na, you will be enslaved very soon. And it will not take much time.
Yeah.
So if a man doesn't have to protect his children, there is no children to protect, no society to protect, no tribe to protect. Why will a man die?
Mm.
So this is a pushback, nothing beyond that.
Got it.
The
I think that's
actual red,
great.
red pill movement or men's right movement is nothing against female. They want equality in real sense.
Perfect. I think hopefully things will hopefully settle down over time. We don't know, but the time will
Yeah, yeah.
usually we're going to still watch it, right? That's what's going to happen. Thanks a lot, Shonee. I think this was a very engrossing discussion. We covered the role of feminist legislature, judiciary, and also if men's rights is actually anti-women or just pro-men having fighting for their own rights. Fantastic having you here. I think in the next session, we'll dive deeper into some of the other angles that we are here to discuss. Thanks a
Definitely.
lot.
It is always a pleasure to talk to you.
It's my pleasure, I think, to bring more, let's say, awareness and knowledge to people. And I'm glad I'm also learning along with you. So thanks a lot for the participation. I'll see you soon next week with more details that we need to cover. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.